And the time now on Chat and Spin Radio here in the UK is exactly 8 in the evening. We've got our final guest on the show tonight for this show. Who's calling and where are you calling from?
My name is Larada Horner Miller, and I live near Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Larada, now you're a book author. You've written several books, haven't you?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
Right. Just to tell the listeners how many books you've written.
I've written.
And the titles as well.
Okay, I've written 6 books, and the most recent book I've written is the Coronavirus Reflections, Bitter or Better, and it's really my spiritual journey during the coronavirus, and it gives the reader the opportunity to read, respond, and reflect on what I wrote. I wrote it in prose and poetry, so this is my newest book. Then before that, I wrote Just Another Square Dance Caller, the authorized biography of Marshall Flippo. And Marshall Flippo was and is the most famous square dance caller in the world. He has passed away since, but I had the privilege of interviewing him. I had over 40 hours of interview time with him. It's full of stories about the history of square dance, but he was 17 years old and he volunteered for World War II. So a lot of his story is very, very interesting if you're a history buff. Then my next book I wrote was A Time to Grow Up, a daughter's grief memoir, and it's about the loss of my parents. And I write poetry and prose. This one has poetry and prose. The one about the coronavirus has poetry and prose too. That's just a form that I have used to express my thoughts. So this is, if someone is going through the loss of parents, this is really a good book to read and see what happened to me, and how a friend of mine said I should have added the word growth, a daughter's grief and growth process, so or memoir. Then my next book that I wrote, I'm going backwards in time, is a historic fiction, When Will Papa Get Home? And as you can see, I didn't tell you that for this one or for the other one, this one has received a lot of awards, and then the Marshall Flippo book has too. And so that's what the labels are. This is a story that I heard growing up, and I fictionalized it. And so it's really, it's about homesteading, it's about Mexican immigrants, and it's about prejudice and how this one family had to deal with horrible prejudice. And Maria is the protagonist in the story, and she starts this story finding a blue marble in her jewelry box, and it takes her back in time to being a little girl sitting on the steps of this homestead house waiting for Papa to get home. Then my family book that I wrote, I co-wrote this with my dad and my mother. Let me tell you a story. It's nonfiction, and it's how my grandfather put our ranch together during the Depression when a lot of the other ranchers were losing theirs. So it's really the story of the Horners. And then this is my last book, This Tumbleweed Landed. And it's a memoir. It's my experience growing up in the 50s and 60s in a small ranching community in southeastern Colorado. And again, this one is in poetry and prose too. So I do that in 3 of my books. I write in poetry and prose. So I have a wide variety of genres, but the majority of my books are about the Southwest and life in a ranching community.
Okay, then, Larada, now they're very interesting books, and I'm sure the listeners will be interested in all of those. Now, if anyone wants to purchase them, where do they go?
Okay, you can go to Amazon, or you can go to my website, and let me spell it out for you. My name's different. The name of my website is laradasbooks.com, but it's Laradas. So that's Larada's, and then books, BOOKS.com, laradasbooks.com. And I will autograph it if you get it off of my website.
Okay then, well, Larada, thank you very much for coming on, and the very best of luck with the books as well. Have you got anything more in the pipeline?
Yes, I do. That's a great question. The next book I'm writing is called Yeah, I Said Yes, and it's how to write a biography, and it's based on my experience of writing this biography of Marshall Flippo. Then I have 3 poetry books, a 3 poetry book series, and then I have a fiction. So I have lots in the pipeline.
Okay then, Larada, well, thank you very much for coming on. And that's Larada Horner Miller on the line from New Mexico in the USA. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you.